Warning. The following are thoughts and opinions that belong to 4chan and Reddit. They do not reflect the thoughts and opinions of the Atomic Shaman Sweat Lodge. This is for entertainment purposes only.
I tried to summon a skinwalker and now I'm kinda down bad for it. Ask me anything. Okay, listen. I went into the woods with a dead chicken, a Bluetooth speaker playing Evanescence, and a copy of Twilight for vibes. Did the usual. Candle. Circle. Shirt off. It showed up. Tall. Lanky. Eyes like two burning coals and a voice that sounded like my ex if she smoked gravel and spoke backwards. And I don't know if it was the whiskey or the moonlight, but I wanted to climb it like a tree. Dude. It started mimicking my voice and I said stop. But like sexily. It snarled and said, "Is this what you want?" In my own voice, and I swear to God I heard a Weekend track in the distance. I think it wanted to eat me, but like in both ways. I left the circle. Bad idea. Now it's living in my shed and I think we're in a situationship. I tried to put salt down but it just writhed sexily around it and huffed at me. I may have accidentally given it a boner. Or a bone. I don't know. I'm not a cryptid scientist. Do I need an exorcism or a condom? Hey OP, leave me out of the screen cap. Go raw and devour to your heart content. Who is to refuse a meal on a silver platter? I had an Xbox friend who would always type his messages like this. Hey, how is everyone today? Because he had a girlfriend that beat him and would take his phone to message people pretending to be him, so he came up with a secret code so his friends would know it's him. He hasn't been with her for almost 10 years but still does it. Are you okay, op? Do you need rescue? He had a GF that beat him. If it kept happening, he probably liked it. As Michael Jackson said in Man in the Mirror, quote, "Make that change." Your friend probably was a kook that masturbated to his girlfriend's disloyalty and got beat every night so he can say he has a physical relationship. You're gonna get the sex. And your head bitten off after the sex. There are worse ways to die, TBH anon. Is your lanky skinwalker GF/BF, do you even know, looks like WEBM related? Or like, more of a skulldog or deer skull, or both? I had a skinwalker, it just went away after mimicking me one time to my family. I think he figured out I was cool. Skinwalker wants to fuck and eat op. Op doesn't even know its gender. Op still considering it. Keck. I would totally invite it to dinner. XD, who's your new friend, son? Based retard. This didn't happen. BTW, the demon is actually a man and will now try to take your soul. You'll willingly go through it because of your horniness. The only way to beat it is by practicing NNN. Don't let the lust control you. I've experienced her too, she's not as she seems. Night of the Wendigo Oner. Fucking tapping that ass, don't care, I'm doing it for the lols. Based. Watch Twilight with it? Even if it's male? Don't care, I'm more bi than fucking Jack Harkness, and talking of it would pass the Harkness test fine. I appreciate the tutorial, I hope I will snag a cute skinwalker GF. NGL great idea, let's Netflix and chill with the skinwalker. Cute. My skinwalker had a female voice and asked what I was eating. Off-brand Pop-Tarts, didn't bug me after I noped back in the cabin. Should have offered some of those canned beans. Yeah, just watch Antlers with your GF. Would watching Bambi be a bit on the nose considering the story? If they help you hunt, it should be fine. If they're just being neats, just ask them to build their own shed or just give them the shed and play blackjack with them. YIFF in hell for all of eternity, furry fag. Yeah, think I saw that. Will probably buy it when I get more money cause the shipping is insane to get to my country. Where you are? No thanks, I will stay up here in the mandate OV heaven with my wolf I'd like to fuck, Skinwalker wife. Serious question, would an actual female skinwalker in the traditional Native American sense make for a good wife? Or would she just trick and eat you? I image it would be some kind of unhealthy codependency, going off my limited understanding of them. Fuck yes, okay, this is getting an Urban Dictionary / Viz Roger Melly's Profanajuaris entry now. Wolf I'd like to fuck. Myth. Zoal. Slang. See also, cryptid cunnilingus, lycanthropy lust, howling for a howler. N. A particularly rugged or sinewy specimen of shape-shifting skinwalker, whose lupin allure causes sudden and involuntary trouser upheaval in the terminally horny, the spiritually confused, or those who watched too much Brother Bear as a child. Frequently spotted during cursed hikes, vision quests gone awry, or 3 a.m. Tinder sessions in haunted canyons. N. A hairy bipped with glinting eyes, a throaty growl, and thighs like haunches of prime venison, said to evoke feelings best described as violently curious. Usage. I went out looking for Bigfoot and came back with a wolf, now me soul's marked and I'm limping like I been clubbed by folklore. Note, risk of lycanthropic stees and cursed offspring who bay at the moon and refuse to do their homework. Not to be confused with Wilf, Wendigo I'd like to fondle, which is a frostbitten kettle of entirely different fish. Bro. I think 50% of the sex is the thrill of not knowing you're gonna survive with a skinwalker. Thread up for 3 days. This is the /FNAF/ board after all. The Spoopa schizoid board, and that makes it quirky kinda like the gun autism of /K/. Fuck skinwalkers, they're all fags. Bigfoot fucker detected. Necrophily. Day Fook. Skinwalkers ain't dead, you're thinking of people who want to bone zombies. LOL, yes, I did just put that pun in there and it was not a skeleton of work to do. Ask if it's fine with the sex being live streamed so we can watch too. Either it does want sex, in which case let us goon too. This may be your only chance, might as well make it kinky shit you'll think back on as the hottest fucking shit of your life. Or it really is going to eat you, in which case you've at least left behind objective proof of the supernatural, so you'll still die a legend. Happened last night. Walking into my room, hear a ruckus behind me. From my heirloom cabinet. That I lost the key to. Turn, just in time to see a decorative glass ball, inherited with the cabinet, push itself off the edge. Launching towards me. It hits the ground, completely undamaged, not a scratch or dent on it. Fell asleep good couple of feet onto rock hard tile. The other shit on top of the cabinet have been pushed aside and have fallen over. See my cat, across the room, scratching my fucking armchair, staring at the top of the cabinet. He has the same "what the shit was that" expression that I do. And it was a hefty ass ball of glass, lots of weight to it, and the thing rolled with enough speed to bash a lot of other trinkets out of the way and still have enough momentum to land at my feet. Weird shit. 1 year ago, camping on Victoria Day weekend. Crownland camping, need to portage in with equipment. Plan to stay for 3 days, try to pack light since it was still warm. Bring tarp and plan to just make a pseudo A-frame. Set up camp next to the lake with 2 buddies. Brought my SXS shotgun hoping for wild turkey. Camp setup is uneventful. Friends set up their tents. Mock me for brining only a frame. Have dinner. Friend brings chocolate chip banana bread. Turn in for the night ahead of friends. First night here, what I only describe as an overcapacity washing machine going off most of the night. Sounds like heavy cranking and grinding machinery. Can't sleep because of it. Tell friends. They say it's just bullfrogs. Go out looking for turkey. A couple km away from camp when I hear things go silent. Both friends with me acknowledge how weird it is. We push on anyway. Return to camp for second night without any issues. Friends smoke weed and we cook steaks over the fire. I turn in again early for the night. And try to sleep in under my tarp. This night I hear coyotes yipping and cackling. This goes on for a while until they all just stop suddenly in sync. Nothing but the sound of the trees for the rest of the night. Fall asleep. Pic related is the view from my shitty pseudo frame. Wake up next day. Repeat cycle. Look for turkey with friends. This time in a different direction. Cover twice as much distance. Nothing strange happens. Friends and I are exhausted. We all turn in early after dinner. Try to fall asleep. Can't sleep. Feeling of being watched is overpowering. Look down towards the open end of my frame. Nothing but darkness. No strange noises. Just intense uneasiness. I take my shotgun out of my gun sock and load it. I sure do hope 12 GA2 and 3/4 1 ounce of number 8 shot can get whatever is out there. Mosquitoes start assaulting me. I start feeling them crawl over me and bite me. It feels like hundreds of them. Out of nowhere. Get mosquito face cover over my head. Realize I had not seen mosquitoes the entire time I was here. Not until now. I hear what sounds like an jet airliner flying overhead at a really low altitude. There shouldn't be any planes around here. Especially not jets. I get out of my tent. And look up at the sky. No plane. Man, this feels off. I crawl back into my tent. Before I settle in, I take a picture of the woods from the entrance of my tent. Try to fall asleep, clutching my shotgun. Next morning my face is blown up like a balloon from all the mosquito bites. Have to pack up and portage with an eye swollen shut. Friends laugh at me for sleeping in a frame like a dumbass. Neither of them heard the jetliner sound. Neither of them got bit by mosquitoes. Pic related is the pic I took before going back into my tent. Not the strangest experience. I get that feeling of being watched all the time, but that night it was particularly bad. Does anyone remember the name of this one creepypasta/sleep story about how every year a person is chosen to be erased so every other human in the world suddenly knows where they are and rush there to kill and devour them? But the person also gained the memory of every other person that suffered this same fate, and it went even as far as the Stone Age. Does anyone remember this one? After the person was killed, everyone else would forget them as if the day and the person never existed. To add more details to it, I remember the main character lived in a ranch or some other faraway rural place, so he had time to think about it, and he saw the memories of people who died before him. He saw how last year it was a girl, I think, that lived in the middle of a big city and barely had time to understand what was happening when her parents rushed her and started mauling her. He saw how they started destroying everything about her and dismantled her room, and other people arrived to start eating her pictures and other things just to erase her completely. I think they started eating her body too. I think he tried to see more people, but I fully remember him talking about someone in the Stone Age, cold and scared in a cave without understanding what was going on, but they had realized that whatever was gonna happen to them was much better than what will happen to those who aren't chosen. It's not SCP-6096, but the mechanism is similar. I've been looking for things related to it because it might help finding it. Since it's Halloween, might as well tell a story. Believe me or not, I don't give a fuck. Be me, 5 years old, living with mom, dad and grandma at her house. Grandma has a sewing room with a huge mirror that goes from floor to ceiling and occupies a whole wall for itself. Always feel weird in that room. Grandma died years and I still feel weird when there. Anyway. Sometimes when I go in front of that room's door, see a female figure sitting on one of the couches. Completely black, I can distinguish it's wearing like a dress and a white hat. Always see it when the door is open and the hinge is ajar from the door frame. Always in the same couch. Always in the same pose, legs closed, hands crossed on its lap. Always been told that I'm a weirdo or crazy, so I never told anyone. Last thing I want is to go straight to an asylum or something. See it once in a while, bad things always happen when I see it. Dad is angry, mom is depressed, everyone in the house fights, etc. FFW, I'm 16 now, been seeing the widow, as I called it, every once in a while, always ignore it. That summer I tried to tell my cousins about it, they think I'm insane and pay no attention. Fuck it, I know what I saw all these years, but can you blame their skepticism? I wouldn't believe myself if I didn't see her with my own two eyes. Fast forward to end of summer, become more skeptic myself, my cousins leave, everything is normal more or less. That same night go to the kitchen to have water, turn on the light. Annex, that house had lots of terrible room extensions. That same sewing room used to be a living room and a bedroom until my grandma wanted a bigger room for her work. Anyway, the kitchen connected to what was my dad's room as a teenage, but now was just a storage room full of shit. It never had a light or a door, so to see something you needed a flashlight or turn on the kitchen light. Anyway, I turn on the kitchen light. It's her. She's tall, ominous, completely dark. Like a shadow standing in the door frame to that junk room. Want to run, I'm paralyzed. Try to scream, I can't, I'm in panic. I see the figure walk towards me. It's a good 6 or 7 steps from where I am to that room. I can feel my heart in my throat, my mind is racing. I don't know what that is. Don't want to find out either. It's walking towards me. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. That thing is less than a meter away from me. Suddenly I can move, scream my lungs out, run for my life to my room. Same room as parents, just divided with a huge closet. Wake up everyone, try to tell everyone what happened. I'm bawling and crying trying to tell what I just saw. Nobody believes me. Fast forward 2020, no longer live in that house. Grandma dies. We all gather to her wake. Tell stories from when she was alive, tell stories of those summers when all the cousins were in that house. Remember the widow, tell everyone because fuck it. They remember. All of them saw her, everyone felt uncomfortable in the sewing room with the mirror. Ask them why everyone acted like I was the crazy one when I told them back in the day. Nobody wanted to look crazy, so instead they just played dumb. Motherfuckers. Turns out everyone fucking knew about whatever that was. I was just the only one that saw it from so close. Pretty mundane thing, but still found it weird. Be me, chilling after finishing all my homework, plus didn't go to school that day, I was 14. Decide to chill in the front part of my house, it's sunny outside, plus my family is arguing inside about some dumb shit. Try to meditate since I'm already there, plus it might filter out the noise. Keep doing it for at most 5 minutes, sun on my face the entire time. Open my eyes, since the sun was starting to get too hot. Everything is fucking blue. It's like this weird, clinical blue, it's more of like a filter than it just becoming blue. Walls around me go from red to a whitish red, sunlight looks far too pale. Nobody on the streets, no sounds from what I remember, except for the squabble inside. Stay sitting there, feeling a dread in me, like I fucked up, bad. After a few minutes it goes away. This happens with me every time I try to meditate, not sure if it's something visual or actually paranormal, but it's still pretty weird to me. I'm gonna tell you something and you maybe won't believe me. This is what I saw, every word here unless clarified is as I saw it, how I saw it, and although not necessarily what it was, what I think it is. Some background. Joined the army after HS, drifting through life unmotivated. Leave at 24, did mundane office shit, nothing at all glamorous or interesting. I did have a clearance though, this matters later. Not a particularly good soldier, or human for that matter. Back in real world bounce from job to job, bored and directionless. When I was 27, applied to do some office work at a research center that was a contractor to a large European pharmaceutical company. Clerical shit. Actually kind of enjoy it. About 6 months in I start a new role working with chemists and other scientists developing new base products / delivery methods / ways to have drugs develop or soak in body better, basically the gist, but again I'm pretty dumb. But I was basically a project coordinator type thing. Again, loser in life, I take an offshore thing others done, no family to tie me down. Get processed for new role, set up in France, basically helping these docs align drugs and relevant regulations, sort different scenarios, light advisory stuff. Guess you can call it compliance. One day it comes up I have an active clearance. Because of this I'm offered another position in Turkey, basically doing the same thing, but cause it's a more clandestine and dangerous environment with threat actors, they wanted someone military / not a retard / could be trusted. Top secret SC I preferred since they didn't want any corporate espionage, and also worked tightly on some contacts with intel / gov agencies. Once I'm here I get to know some of the pharma guys, a guy named Lem becomes my main guy I work for. Kinda like his receptionist. One of Lem's oldest accounts is a company called something like FarmCap or something cheesy generic, can't remember. I do lots of intake, spec on this account. Basically they're massive, the biggest for our entire wing of this huge company. I handle a very specific area for them, so obviously didn't know the whole thing, but Lem was one of their main contacts here from what I pieced together. PharmaCap is clearly fake as shit. By now a few years on I had come to know who's who in the industry and worked with lots of other companies, or at least heard / saw them and whatnot over the years. This was a shell through and through, but nobody said anything. Me and Lem have good rapport since his wife was American. Eventually one day I'm like, dude, what the fuck is PharmaCap and why do they buy so much? Lem shuts me down immediately and scolds me. Roger, soft spot. Whatever, move on. After some time, curiosity grows. Eventually one day in my filing system I decide to fuck it and see what I can find on our enterprise resource system. I had no reason not to have access to pretty much all of it. Click PharmaCap. The account is registered in the Cayman Islands. Procurement exec is John Dominic and our 1:1 team, who I never met and only had calls with, during which it was a different person every time, was Nicky Dominic. Most uncreative shit ever. They've over the years done like 2.7 billion. Holy fuck. Eventually I get bored, try and search for some of their products and investigate after our role is done to see application. Oftentimes companies lie as their results and findings with us so we can to spec drive out more effective products. This is a whole other system. When I try and open I get a classified special project or something. Basically saying it's sensitive. Oh wait. I remember I have a clearance over here. Try and badge in. My face when actually works. Once I'm in, it's absolute diamonds. This company uses our products in various programs sorted by a few different parameters. Ones that jumped out were science and tech, bio-war and chem-war, psycho and drug, stasis, cancer, conditions. Each had their own sub-project with each having a name like eyeglass or white bird. Tracking was insanely good. Very organized. Start clicking through. At this point I'm totally invested in this shit. Spend the next 4 hours diving so deep my ears ruptured. Don't remember all, but there were so many. Each could be a pasta of its own. A few I remember were Project Dove, designed get to spec tech, biologics, environmental, and climate control with chem to keep humans in a state of living for, and I quote, a time of at least 2,000 years, assuming an environment of complete isolation such as one found in space travel. There was also Project Echo, which was really dark, and had lots of documents from Saddam and co. Children and their wicked shit. An aspect of it was a study done in Iraqi prisoners in a black site prison to try and turn devout Muslims into carriers who, while acting normal, infect other terrorist cells and expire at a set time after infecting each other in no/low symptom states, aiming to wipe out entire networks. DNA was involved in this one. Also general suggestibility stuff, there was honestly so much. I think the mind-altering stuff in that category was around espionage and spying, trying to suggest others and elicit them into betraying flags or flipping. Also incidentally lots of extremely unethical stuff like torture and disappearances. But. The host. The fucking host. Under somewhere in the precursors area was the host specimen. This host, I guess, from what I read, and again I could be completely wrong, was a fucking alien life form or something. Something either that or so rare you can't even imagine. They talk about this thing like it's the second coming. Apparently whatever it is, it's kept in a tub of a special fluid, and either it's actual matter, of which I assume it was a physical thing, or in very small amounts the secretions filtered through the liquid it was kept in delivered some kind of miracle agent. This agent was used in basically most of their exotic programs in some form, usually highly modified. It had properties of extreme general resistance, extreme space exposure resistance, extreme base/acid resistance, basically insanely max stats. Keep in mind all of this is talked about in codes and shit, like it wasn't but it was. There were no pictures, and it was left vague in my opinion on purpose. Could have easily been a well or something, also honestly no idea. There were teams with like 3 mil budgets dedicated to finding solutions and alternatives to these substances with no luck. They wanted this bad. Whatever the fuck it was. They wanted more. It was bar none like a top mission statement or goal, I guess, I don't know. Anyway, and then I basically never went back except once, but then the access I used didn't work, probably cause this was before Snowden and the hardening. Anyway, that's my story. I have no idea who, what country, why, where, or any other pieces really. It had to be at least a state, that much I'm certain. Only a nation state could be behind that. There was honestly so much I couldn't even scratch the surface. If they had immortality, adrenochrome, or back-to-life chemicals or cure for cancer, it was probably there. Hello/x/. It's been quite a few years since I've lurked the chance, but I felt I had to share this story I've heard many times by my uncle who just recently passed. QRD on my uncle. He'd been in and out of jail throughout his life since a child. Started with petty theft, but that turned into aggravated assault and even an attempted bank robbery. He eventually turned his life around and spent the last few decades of his life dedicated to being a good husband and father to his stepdaughter. The story I'm about to share is his story that he will only tell if asked. He says this was the incident that changed him and made him turn his life over to Christ instead of lusting after the thrills of committing crime. Be my uncle in 1975 in his mid-30s. Serving parole for aggravated assault. Only about 90 days left on a 3-year sentence. Attending a good friend's engagement party. Friend was a fellow inmate who my uncle served time with. Party is at a large indoor skating rink. During the reception, my uncle admits he got jealous of his friend. Uncle's friend has beautiful fiancée, cool muscle car, lots of friends, fell onto big money taking over a business. Uncle's friend throws huge party and goes all out. Uncle says in a fit of jealous rage, he quietly steps out of a rear exit of the skating rink. Uncle said that even though he was wrought with jealousy, he also didn't want to be a burden to his good friend. As my uncle is trying to discreetly leave the reception, he notices something very peculiar out the corner of his eye. a couple of white dudes approaching a black man trying to get his attention, shouting accusations at him. Uncle watches the scene play out. Immediate realization by my uncle that this is the fight he saw earlier when entering his friend's party, only the events playing out are several minutes earlier than they were before he arrived. When my uncle first arrived to the party, he walked past an incident where a couple of white men beat the snot out of a black dude. Fight had already finished, black dude was being schlepped away in humiliation for whatever went down when my uncle arrived. But now, that same fight was only just beginning. My uncle says that it was like time had rewound for him like an 8-track cassette tape the moment he stepped outside that door. At first, Uncle doesn't think anything about it, kind of shrugs it off, still sulking over his friend's reception party. Uncle retraces his steps to head back to the bus stop where the city bus had dropped him off before the party and waits for the next bus. As he waits, he notices the bus arriving well ahead of schedule by his watch. Uncle shrugs, and proceeds to climb onto the bus, only this was the exact same bus he had taken earlier to arrive to his friend's party. Same bus, same driver, even same passengers as before. Meaning, this was the exact same bus that would have been departing to arrive to the party, but it is just now arriving. Somehow, my uncle found himself stumbling into a time loop. He immediately realizes that he has the opportunity to replay everything that happened over the past several minutes. My uncle rushes back to his friend's reception to confirm. As my uncle approaches the venue, he notices the black man from before, except there were no white guys there to jump him this time. Time had skipped a bit further into the past from my uncle's perspective. He slips back through the rear exit. Sure enough, everything is playing out as it had before some 20 minutes earlier. Side note, it's at this point in the story when you would notice a dramatic change in my uncle's tone and posture while telling his story. Uncle says he felt a strange feeling deep inside his heart. Said it felt like having a railroad spike being driven deep into his chest. Uncle says the first thing that came over him was to take revenge against his good friend. He would use this time skip phenomenon to take advantage of his friend and his unwitting guests and rob them all blind. Like the expert pickpocket he was, Uncle made his way around the reception, stealing people's wallets and even stealing the keys to his friend's awesome muscle car. Sure enough, everything was playing out as it had before, making it easy for my uncle to know who to target and when, since he knew when they would be the most vulnerable. But then Uncle admits that he had gotten too greedy. Stole more than he should have, could have been just a few items, but no. He went for watches and wallets and jewelry, a real heist. In a drunken lust of vengeance fueled by jealousy, Uncle says that it had gotten to the point where his moves were becoming sloppy. He remembers there was a commotion from before as people rushed outside to see the ensuing fight between the black man and the white dudes that were going to jump him. As commotion at the reception began to swell, Uncle would use the opportunity to slip out the back exit like he had before. Uncle makes his way out the back, and sure enough, he sees the two white men approaching the black man again, only this time, my uncle out of sheer curiosity gets closer to listen in on what the commotion was about. Turns out people had accused the black man of stealing from them. Yes, that's right, the very fight my uncle saw the first time he arrived was actually caused by him stealing, and this innocent black guy was taking the blame for it. My uncle had fulfilled his own time loop. Uncle is momentarily stunned by this realization. Turns to leave and go back to the bus stop to make off with his spoils, only in being sloppy, Uncle says his pockets were bulging and he had even dropped a few items onto the ground without realizing. Uncle leaving a trail of evidence without realizing it. Again, as part of the self-fulfilling time loop, a few loose dollars my uncle found on the ground on the way to the event was actually money he had dropped in this part of the loop. Uncle remembers thinking finding that money was a sign that he would have a good day. Didn't realize it was him who dropped the money in the first place. While making his way from the commotion, Uncle says someone noticed him trying to get away. The same money that Uncle found would instead expose him to onlookers in this timeline. Uncle says that two of the white dudes who were otherwise preoccupied with roughing up the black guy now turned their full attention towards my uncle instead and began chasing after him. Uncle says he was too weighed down with the spoils of his crime, but instead of just dumping it, he clutched onto it greedily, which severely handicapped his ability to get away. The two white guys tackle my uncle to the ground, and sure enough, find stolen goods on him. Same stolen goods the black guy was being beat up for from before. In essence, had my uncle not been greedy, the events would have played out as they had before, with none the wiser. Uncle is beaten up and humiliated, then later taken into custody by authorities. Uncle totally betrayed his friend and felt like shit. Taken to jail, refuses bail, and faces the judge. Pleads guilty and gets 5 years prison sentence due to violating parole. Uncle serves 3 years in prison regretting his decision and is let free on parole for good behavior. Had he not been greedy, he had the opportunity to do good in the time that was given to him. Instead, he was driven by the evil he said he felt pierce deep into his heart. My uncle ended up becoming a born-again Christian and spent the rest of his life trying to do good. My dad worked for CBS and tried to pitch his brother's story for the Twilight Zone reboot, but the script was never greenlit. Working as an assistant for crime scene cleanup service. Shit job while working my way through med school. Seen dozens of deceased men, women, children, babies. Met. Receive a deceased who is late-term pregnant one afternoon at prep facility. Deceased had been dead for some time in humid heat. Met. Boss begins to prepare the deceased for cold storage, says we'll perform final procedures first thing tomorrow. Nod. Page by secretary, boss is needed offsite, as secretary and head office is in a different building up the street from this facility. Boss advises me to head upstairs and eat lunch while he's out. Nod. Prepare my lunch, take my time eating, goof around for a while on my phone. Hear an unusual sound from the basement prep room, upstairs break room not far from basement stairs. Think nothing of it, but decide to check it out anyway. Plug my phone into charge and head downstairs to basement prep room. Arrive to horrific sight. Deceased had begun giving coffin birth to unborn fetus. Not just fetus, but entire placenta bulging from vagina. Near about puke. Most disgusting thing I'd ever seen. Smell is horrific. Almost pass out. Immediately run upstairs to call boss. Boss, stop being a pussy. Don't touch anything. I'll be back shortly. Nod. Wait in break room for boss to return. Hear more noises from the basement prep room. Loud shuffling sounds. Deceased are known to experience involuntary movement, but this was deeply unsettling. Boss taking longer than I care for. Consider quitting my job. Boss finally arrives. Sees I am visibly shaken. Boss apologizes for being a jerk and says he'll handle deceased. Nod. Boss heads to basement. After a brief moment, hear boss shout my name, Anon. Get your ass down here, now. Not a panicked tone, but an angry one. Head downstairs to basement prep room. Boss standing near deceased, visibly trembling with anger like he wants to beat my ass right then and there. Boss, Anon, WTF. I told you not to touch anything. Assure my boss that I hadn't touched the deceased as per his instructions. Boss, where is fetus? Assure my boss that I have no idea what he's talking about. Boss, something like this isn't a joke, Anon. I swear if I find out that you are pranking, it's over for you. Boss threatens me with severe legal repercussions, says these kinds of pranks will ruin both our reputations. Promise my boss that I did not touch the deceased. Boss asks me to walk him through everything I did while he was away. I oblige. Boss still seems skeptical but is now at least not looking like he wants to kick my ass. Boss tells me to stand still like a scolded puppy and begins looking around the prep room. Ask if I can at least wear face mask, but am met by cold shoulder. After an exhaustive and repetitive search, Boss is finally calm. Boss insists I stand still while he examines the deceased. I wait, still trying to choke back gag reflex. Boss had been doing this kind of work long before I came on board, so the smell and horrifying visage doesn't bother him one bit. After a thorough examination, Boss determines that the fetus was removed before arriving. Only placenta after birth left. Boss determines natural decay in the deceased caused after birth to be ejected. Boss apologizes. No big deal after all. Except, I promise you, I clearly saw the placenta intact and the shape of the baby's head within. Now placenta is deflated and empty, clear rupture where fetus was removed. Begin to think I'm losing it, but don't say anything to my boss. Boss offers to process deceased, says I can take the rest of the night off. I oblige. Head home. Do not sleep well over next few days. All lights on, radio on blast. Still have horrific night terrors as I try to doze off. Tell myself to be an adult and get my shit straight. Several days later. Called into work in the late evening to receive a deceased. Deceased involved in traffic accident, so not usual crime related. Arrived to prep facility before my boss. Go through usual routine. Scan badge, enter door code, disable alarm system, turn on lights and AC, put on pot of coffee in the break room, etc. Go sit on couch in reception area and start goofing around of my phone. Hear loud noises coming from the basement. Noise is indistinguishable but somehow human and intentional. Nope. Only two ways into the basement, either from upstairs or from rear garage door. No one else there, alarm still armed. Fuck the fuck out of there, go wait in my car. Don't bother to turn anything off, just leave. Consider quitting again. Boss finally arrives with transport service. Boss, Anon, what the fuck are you doing out here? I'm usually inside goofing off. Tell boss I heard noises coming from the basement prep room and nope the fuck out of there. Boss laughs and hurls usual insults at me and tells me to assist in prep work for deceased. I oblige. Deceased is in really bad shape. Male, early 30s, crushed between car and truck while riding motorcycle. Boss and I work feverishly because it's late and we want to get home. Boss suggests we take a quick break. I agree. Boss and I head upstairs. I go to break room. Boss steps out to smoke. Start to prepare a coffee and plan to join my boss outside because fuck being in there alone again. While making coffee, hear a distinct, deliberate, and very loud thump from one of the lower cabinets behind me. Immediately think of zombie fetus crawling around. Squeeze my ass cheeks to keep from squirting a turd. Scramble to the bathroom literally clutching my ass cheeks together. Make it just in time to blast pure fear-driven dump into the crapper. Hear a similar loud thump in the hallway leading to the bathroom. Barely wipe my ass in a panic, pull up my pants. Hear a pronounced thud on the bathroom door as though someone is trying to get in. Admittedly squelch out in fear like a total bitch, crying and sweating. Cannot shake the thought of a zombie fetus crawling around. Bathroom door thankfully locks from inside. Grab the plunger and wait for another sound. Go for my phone with my other hand and realize I left it in the break room trying not to shit myself. Figure if I wait long enough my boss will come looking for me. Unless boss gets bitten by zombie fetus. Stand in terror holding plunger like some kind of makeshift sword. Listen intently for a long while. No more noises. Realize that I'm a grown man standing in the bathroom with a plunger because I almost shit myself thinking of a zombie fetus crawling around. Start to collect myself, but still holding the plunger out in front of me because fuck it. Slowly go for the bathroom door. Hall to bathroom not very long, but in a U-shape, and no overhead lights. Seems unusually dark. Have to turn a blind corner. Not looking forward to it. Step cautiously towards the corner. Hear a loud thump from behind me on the bathroom cabinet that sits beneath the sink. Fucking nope. Hall asks for the break room to grab my phone and head straight for the main door, swinging the plunger like an idiot the whole time. Drop the plunger in the foyer and exit the main door. Look around for my boss, who looks up at me from his smoke break with the look a confused puppy gives. Boss notices I'm disheveled and acting retarded. Boss, WTF is it now, Anon? Tell my boss I think I've finally seen my last caller, which is slang at my job for when people who do this kind of work can no longer deal with it. Boss insults me, but in the kind of way to cheer me up. I still consider quitting right then and there. Boss assures me he understands but asks that I at least finish processing this last deceased. I find my boss tone reassuring. Consider that maybe I am being a big pussy. Remember that I almost just shit myself and tried to defend myself with a plunger against a zombie fetus. Remember that I just left a plunger in the foyer. Now outside trying to find comfort with another man. Realize I'm being super gay about this. Agree to help my boss finish prepping the latest caller. We shoot the shit for a minute. Boss tells his usual assortment of incidents from his past. We decide to head back in. I walk ahead of my boss in order to grab the plunger so as not to embarrass myself. Scurry with it to the bathroom. Drop the plunger and turn. Notice that the fucking cabinet door beneath the sink is gaping wide open when it wasn't before. Freeze for a moment trying to figure out what to do next. Cannot stop myself from imagining a zombie fetus emerging from the cabinet. Force myself to look away from it and hurry for the bathroom door. Make my way downstairs to join my boss. Boss is not downstairs. Neurotically scan the floor for zombie fetus as I go back upstairs. See my boss over in the break room making a coffee. Tell my boss I've finally seen my last caller. Overwhelming desire to just go home ADP and never go back to that place. Boss glares at me with look of deep concern. Boss, something like it's late, Anon. You look like shit. I'll finish up here. Take a while off and think about it, okay? The nicest my boss has ever been with me. As if he can tell in all of his experience that I'm done, that I've seen my last caller. I apologize to him and leave him there to contend with the zombie fetus on his own. Get in my car and head home feeling like a total loser. Again with the horrific night terrors. All lights on, radio on blast. Cannot sleep. Lay with my blanket pulled all the way up under my nose. Stare at the ceiling. Try to take my mind off the horrific chain of events I just experienced. And then. Thump. The same sound as before. Same intensity. Same intentional sounding humanous. Loud and audible from the hallway just outside my room. Very distinctly against the baseboard against the wall. Realize that like an idiot I did not close my room door. And my phone is across the room on my desk charging. Literally start crying. Pull my covers over my head and wait for the zombie fetus to crawl its way up to my bed and start gnawing at me or whatever. This all happened this past week. I keep hearing that same thump follow me around wherever I go now. It always starts distant and gets closer and closer with each thump. Yet I know how stupid this sounds, but I know it's the zombie fetus. And I know once I actually see it, it's like over for me. I know I will die instantly on the spot at that exact moment, and no one will ever know why. I just know it. This is my first time ever posting on this board. English is not my language, so please be gentle. Be me. 6 or 7 years old. Tiny kid visiting my aunt's house in rural Spain, like 60 kilometers from Madrid but basically middle of nowhere. The classic old people village, nothing but fields, stray dogs, and abandoned buildings once you step outside of the main village. Back of the house has this big fence covered in plants. There's a small gate that leads to another street in the village. Playing near it with my cousin, she was like 10 years older. Hear something moving behind the gate. We look over. Big ass dog staring at us through the gate. Not aggressive, just standing there like some gentle forest spirit. Fluffy as hell, looked friendly. Tell my cousin we should feed it or play with it. She's like, no, don't. The face when I just wanted a dog friend. Pic related looks like it, but the one I saw was orangish. Dog looked stray, no collar, kinda sad. Really wanted to adopt it? Cousin didn't care, she eventually left me alone there, or at least that's how it felt. I keep staring at the dog, debating if I should pet him. Dog eventually walks away. Call him back, call my cousin too. No answer from either. Few minutes later I see my cousin behind the gate. Finally, she's back. I want to keep playing. But something feels off. She's just standing there, staring at me. Not blinking, not smiling, just that weird expression that triggers every uncanny valley neuron in my tiny brain. Call her name. No answer. She keeps staring, doesn't even move her lips. I step outside to ask what's wrong. She slowly walks backwards as I get closer. Sometimes runs a few steps away but never breaks eye contact. Sorry, posted during work and got bussy. That's when I notice it. She's wearing a white dress. My real cousin was wearing shorts and a white t-shirt. Brain.exe stops working. Too young to understand what's happening. Only thought, why is cousin mad at me? She climbs this weird mound thing near a small park. I try to follow, but it's hard because I'm tiny and I end up falling down. She looks pissed now. Starts making angry faces. Then she screams. No actual words, just loud sounds like someone trying to talk but not knowing a single word. Nope, the fuck out. Ran faster than my short legs ever did. Back to the house, through the gate. Rush inside, thinking WTF is happening. Enter the main house looking for some adults. They're in the kitchen. My real cousin is there too. Wearing the shorts and t-shirt. Helping them make croquettes. Feel my soul leave my body. WTF.jpg. Ask her why she screamed at me and changed clothes. She just stares confused. Aunt and mom think it's just kid imagination shit. Apparently she'd been in the kitchen the whole time since the dog showed up. Dog never came back either. Nor did the whatever that was wearing her face. Never saw it again. I still don't know what the hell I saw. Maybe some random autistic girl who looked exactly like her? But why the same face, same hair, same eyes, and that dress? Doppelganger. Skinwalker. I don't know, man, I was just a kid. Been 20 plus years and it still freaks me out. Does anybody know anything related to Spanish/South European folklore that could be related to this? This isn't a green text exactly, it's more of a /r/ that I saw once. This might not be totally accurate because it's from memory. Afghanistan/Iraq/ one of those kinda countries. Troop gets sent to a village for a reason I can't recall. Village is deserted. Start exploring the buildings. May or may not be food cooking in some of them, I can't remember. These weird spell things or trinkets of ill omen in different buildings start getting noticed. Gradually all of the soldiers start acting batshit like Blair Witch, staring at walls and stuff before going mental. Whole thing is filmed through body cam. Original backstory of why they were there was /x/tear. Then it evolved into, which I'm beginning to think is some glowy meme now because of how often it seems to come up, it's a teaser from a movie/student project. But the production budget would have been way too high for a shitty movie no one ever mentioned again, and definitely for a student project. Buildings all seemed completely legitimate and not a set. All of the lingo was entirely accurate. In the comments certain things were mentioned about camo and shit that you only get on the real deal and can't buy from Amazon. Lots of different little things pointed to it not being 100% fake. Even tiny details no one would bother with for a meme. Never been able to find the video again, and it seems like it's been scrubbed from the interwebs. It's a neat little video. I think /x/ would appreciate it. Be me, Anon. Accidentally stumble back onto the void/null source stuff about a year ago. Today I will make a taller, narrower coffee can. Get to the top of the 4th density of empty. You can do it, Anon. She sounds super cute. Get the top of the cylinder formed. Wonder if there's anything else at this end. Try pull one more, why not? Worst case scenario I pass out. Oily black whip of super cooling lightning non-existence begins pouring out of the gate, spilling a bunch of inverted 0 point into my coffee can the entire crowd of ages wouldn't believe in even if they were in the room watching. Feel consciousnesses slip, fall over like I usually do when I do this. Everyone staring at me. Wha? Bro, what in the actual fuck is this? Looks sorta like a plug-in Coleman thermos made out of pure obsidian to me. We can coil it and plug it in later. We do. Am trying something else with it. Feel forms guy linked to me throat snap shut. Stop. Make sure he's cool. Been doing this regularly for a year and a half. Am probably unique in being the only dumb motherfucker.exe to break a dream spike and start chewing the shaft glass. Feels so long ago, that was before I even started learning to scream the ultrasonic frequencies. Mentioned should have done a dick move. What do you mean? Get all the brothers to link and then invert the flow when we break into 4th. Why would that matter? Dude, didn't you see what happened to your mate? Huh? A guy could get every mail-only order's entire roster in one shot. Just have him link to me and get them to attack him. They look at each other. Be right back, Anon, we gotta check something. They run off, they're back pretty soon though, start doing a bunch of rapid jumps. 15 to 20 minutes. They get back, alright, we're done. You were right, we got them all. Oh, cool. 2 guys just took down the entire Alpha Realm in like 10 to 12 minutes. Realize I need to stop building silly things and explaining how they could be made to walk. I can't remember if I shared this before or I meant to. I know for certain at least one of you will have experienced something similar. 8 or 9 in primary school. Used to love wearing corduroy pants for some reason and always wore them to school. In the class there was one of those mechanical pencil sharpeners attached to the teacher's desk so she could see who was trying to waste time. If you needed an eraser you had to ask her for it because people would always steal them. I got the eraser this one time and, apparently, put it in my pocket without thinking when I was back at my desk. Some little grass on my table told the teacher I was stealing it. I protested that I hadn't. Even put my hands in my pocket to check and there was nothing in them, totally empty because all stationery and things were supplied by the school. Teacher makes me stand up in front of everyone and turn my pockets out. Turn my pockets out. Feel something in my hand. Must have that look of guilt on my face because the smug teacher turns her hand out ready to receive the eraser. This doesn't feel like an eraser and I really don't want to get it out. Tells me to hand it over. Have the object clenched in my fist. Reluctantly open my fist. It's a dog's tooth. Not like the cool canine ones, but a molar. Teacher looks at me like I'm very, very strange. Everyone in the class thinks I'm a fucking weirdo. Don't even have a dog. Have no clue where it came from. Never found the eraser neither. I still think about it sometimes just because of how bizarre it was. I think with the eraser at least I put it on my desk and someone else took it. The desks were weird because they were more like tables for 2 people, but there would be 4 together, 2 horizontal back to back and then 1 vertical at either end, so it was like 8 people sharing one big desk. I know people have found teeth in their pockets before, but they were usually human and equally unsure where they came from. I promise you this story is 100% true. Be me, in college. Broke as shit, as per usual. See a cute girl entering the cafeteria. College has a cafeteria-style food court. Grab a tray, pick your food, pay at the register setup. Follow cute girl into the cafeteria, knowing full well how broke I am. Grab some random items because my real motive is to scope out this cute girl on the low. Girl heads to the cashier. I follow. Plan in my head how I'll pat around for my wallet, then shrug, and be like, oh well, must have forgot my wallet somewhere, sorry. Cute girl ahead of me pays for her food. I'm next. Go for my fake lost my wallet routine. Feel inside my jacket pocket. Wait, what's this? Exact amount of cash I need for the random items I picked. Pay for my food. Watch where cute girl sits. Wander around as if looking for a table to sit at, planning to make a move. Cute girl's boyfriend arrives and sits with her. Universe must have been like, you didn't get the girl, but here's some free food anyway. I've had a similar thing happen to me too. About 22 at the time. Stopped by a store for a bag of potato chips. For whatever reason didn't take a card with me, just 2 €1 coins. Remind myself to be mindful of what I can afford, but immediately switch to autopilot and just pick what I usually get. Costs more than €2, don't even stop to see either the price. I'm in line, hands in my pockets. Specifically remember rubbing the 2 coins together. As the cashier grabs my shit to scan it, I suddenly realize I'm not carrying enough money to pay for it. Aw fuck. Always been a socially anxious autismo. Reality turns to ice. Mind starts reeling thinking of how I'm going to have to tell her I can't pay for this one item in front of all these people. 2 seconds seem like half a minute as I consider how I'm going to play this to not look like a broke retard. Decide it's best to pretend like I forgot how much I had with me. Cashier tells me the amount and I pull out my now sweaty, cursed coins of shame, still pinched between my thumb and index finger. Dump them on my palm and spend solid 5 seconds staring at 3 coins. 3. 2.50 in total. What the fuck? Realize that the cashier is still waiting and hand her the money. Quietly thank whatever benevolent spirit just conjured 50 cents into my hand as I grab my spirit chips. Probably managed to look like a dumbass anyway. It's lame as fuck, but I will go to my grave 100% convinced that as I was standing in line I only had 2 coins between my fingers. I want to believe that there is a guardian fairy out there somewhere that exclusively labors to save autists from brief moments of humiliation. This morning I saw a glitch in the Matrix. This morning at about 9:30 I was leaving my house to go to work. I was in my car and at the end of the street I stopped at the stop sign and let 2 people cross the road. It was an old man with bright white hair and a woman that was up to his shoulder. They pass and I turned in the opposite direction and continue driving, about 5 blocks. On my left the same couple is walking down the sidewalk. What the hell, man? My job is haunted and I need advice. I recently started working at a spa as an attendant. Duties included attending to people, maintaining a clean environment, and shutting down the spa by breaking everything down before night crew arrives, which is usually pretty late. And sometimes I need to go into these small spaces to drain the jacuzzis. None of that really bugs me, but something really creeped me out recently. In the electrical room where we keep extra carts, I saw a dark silhouette of a humanoid figure standing in the corner. I tried to turn on the light, but the switch didn't seem to do anything, so I turned on my phone's flashlight on, and to my surprise there wasn't anything. No hung towel, no stacked chairs, or weird box on the wall that could have made what I had saw. So when I turned off my flash, one would expect to see the exact same optical illusion, but no. The corner was empty in the dark. There wasn't that same silhouette from before. So logically I just chalked it up to my imagination and laughed it off. That was until I heard from a co-worker that the place was allegedly haunted after I had shared the weird incident to him. More co-workers chimed in on the subject and talked about it casually as if it was nothing new. Truth be told, I thought, haha, very funny, trying to scare the new guy, but after asking another co-worker if she had heard about the ghost, she, like everyone else, casually said she did and acted as if it was nothing to worry about. Ever since the incident I've had more things occur, and honestly I'm not having it. If I didn't need the money I'd quit, but unfortunately I can't afford to lose my job, and now I'm starting to think it picks on me the most because I'm usually the last to leave before night crew arrives and I'm usually alone. How am I supposed to keep myself safe, for a lack of better words? Can I wear something or maybe use something so it doesn't bother me as much? I know this sounds ridiculous, but I'm starting to get a bit freaked out now. A mimic experience I just had. Genuinely freaked out. I live on an old country property. I live with my ex-sister-in-law, her new husband and their 3 children. They all went out of town for the day and were expected back this evening. My sister-in-law texted me she would be home in 1 hour. At about the hour mark I hear the front door open downstairs and I hear them all enter. I hear grocery bags moving around, and clearly my sister and nephew's voice saying something I couldn't make out. I hop out of bed to go greet everyone, just to walk into an empty living room. I actually have Ring camera in the living room that caught my reaction, but since it didn't have the mimic I didn't include it. I spin around in a few circles just confused looking around, and I keep looking out the window to see if maybe they parked somewhere else, only for in that moment to see the headlights of the truck come down the road. That's when I left the house to meet them outside as I was freaked out. What the hell was that? Wanted to share my experience I had 5 years ago. This experience changed my life. It has always stuck with me. Before I start, I want to assure you this isn't for views or attention. This isn't some literary exercise. This happened to me. Before this experience, my extent of knowledge regarding the reptilian phenomenon was quite literally a meme on Twitter of the Queen of England. While the idea of aliens was cool, I thought the introduction of reptilians into the conversation discredited everything about it. All I knew was people were tying aliens and global conspiracies to reptiles, and it was dumb. That's it. I share this account now in good health but completely transformed by the experience. It has stuck with me every day for the past 5 years. And I am not one to believe anything outside of physical reality what I can prove with my own eyes. So even being on this sub is such a leap for me. I'm sharing this partly to process and because it's therapeutic, but mostly to get feedback from others and their experiences. Maybe they can point out lore or history that resembles what I experienced even further than what I have already found out. My experience. It was 2020. I was admitted into a hospital. I had endocarditis and a serious case of pneumonia. I was running a high fever. I also had an issue with fentanyl abuse. I had struggled on and off for 20 years with opiates by this point. I was admitted to the hospital and put on a ventilator. I was in and out of consciousness for a few days. Many family members I hadn't seen in a while came to visit. This made me realize that something was seriously wrong with me. The doctors were unsure of my state in those first few days. During this time, slipping in and out of consciousness, I remember a specific evening. My machine was beeping. I felt helpless, like nobody was coming to help me, like maybe I was dying. I slipped under again. When I opened my eyes, it wasn't a dream. Seconds and minutes were ticking. I could hear myself talk. I could hear other voices inside as well. All I could hear was that high-pitched air noise you hear inside a commercial airliner, so loud you almost can't hear yourself speak. It was disorienting. I was in an enclosed space. A box. Chained up. On a jet. I could see the airplane window at my seat. Not much else. It was dark. I quickly realized I was a prisoner being transported. Then I heard the other voices. They started to acknowledge me. "Where are we?" they asked. "We are on a plane," I responded. "Who are you?" I asked. "Jamie," they answered. "Your name?" "John," I said. A deep voice interrupted, "Can y'all hear me?" A third voice. The voice of a black man in his 30s. I looked down and saw my hands. My hands were black. I was in his body. "Let's call him Dre." Dre, Jamie, and I were all trying to figure out how we could hear each other. Dre was a prisoner being transported by a DEA agent, a crooked agent named Terry. Who was I? Who was Jamie? And who were the other voices I could hear? We were souls. Trapped in Dre. It quickly became clear, Dre was a fentanyl dealer, carrying the souls of everyone who had overdosed from his drugs. Since he was a big-time dealer who sold bricks from Mexico, there were about 100 souls trapped in his head. This scared Dre, but he quickly adjusted, and the voices found a way to speak in turn, almost like a social media session where everybody talks at once. Clubhouse, I think it's called. We were all trapped in Dre. Dre was being transported to a jail by DEA agent Terry. Ironically, Terry had once supplied Dre with drugs. Terry was a double agent working for the US government and the Mexican cartel, and now he was turning Dre in. Dre had a short haircut, very dark skin, gold teeth, and gold Cartier clear frame glasses with brown tortoise shell. He wore a white tee and a prison jumper from the waist down. The plane ride was loud and claustrophobic. There appeared to be other prisoners on board. When we landed, we were just passengers in Dre's body. I was oddly at peace about being dead and being one of 100 souls haunting this drug dealer who had indirectly caused my death. Terry, calm and collected, led Dre into a black SUV. We were somewhere in the southwestern United States, New Mexico or Texas, desert plains, weaving around mountains at 80 miles per hour. Terry spoke to Dre like an old friend. "Sorry I had to do this to you, buddy. You know I always liked you, Andre. Had I died? Was I trapped in this drug dealer's head, speaking with other dead souls? Why him? Why not the factory that made the fentanyl? Why was my soul attached to him?" Terry's answer: "You were just too valuable." We pulled into a deserted southwestern town. A few people were standing outside, watching our speeding SUV as if it were the first car they'd seen in days. "Cartel owns the whole town," Terry said, spitting into a cup. He was a southern gentleman in his mid-50s, wearing black sunglasses. We arrived at a fence. Two cartel-looking men opened it and let us in. It was an old county jail. The cops weren't real cops. Their clothes weren't pressed, shirts weren't tucked, and they had dead serious expressions. The SUV pulled in the back. We were brought into a concrete hall, almost like the bathroom in Alcatraz in the movie The Rock, all concrete. Then we were brought to an elevator. Dre and Terry got on and went down. Down for a while. I was in Dre's head. The seconds were ticking. This wasn't a dream. This was fully conscious. After a long ride underground, the elevator opened. Up close it appeared to be a parking garage, but looking off, instead of concrete, We were in a tunnel. Sand or red clay all around us. Spiky cave formations hung from the ceiling. We walked through these caves and started seeing people. And then I saw it. A humanoid figure, standing 6.5 to 7 feet tall, with an alligator-like head, muscular body, and scaly skin, perspired. He stood at the head of a line of people and chained against the rocky wall. A portal opened in the wall massive. Inside, people crawled over each other, naked, yelling, screaming. It looked like hell. The reptilian figure was overseeing it, guiding the line into the portal. Dre was thrown into a holding cell. We understood our fate, we were going to be put into the portal. We spent 20 to 30 minutes begging Terry not to send us in, offering to work as informants or help catch people. The 100 souls inside Dre's head were strategizing on escape. Watching the line of people walk into the portal, I had a sudden understanding. These reptilians, masquerading as humans, were behind the conveyor belts of society: big pharma, food, war structures that enslaved souls. They fed on human suffering. They generated fear, misery, and pain to feed themselves. I knew it. I just knew. Eventually, I felt helpless, already dead, my soul facing damnation. Watching the people walk into the portal, 20 to 30 in front of us, I began to rise, leaving Dre's body like a ghost. The reptilians noticed me. I rose through the cave ceiling, through the ground, the jail, the air, and finally back to consciousness. The beeping of the ventilator greeted me. Doctors and nurses revived me. Years later, I still remember this minute by minute. It felt completely real. I know most people won't believe me or think I'm overdramatic. I'm trying to access my hospital records, but you can't get them online. I was dying infection, pneumonia, fluid in my lungs. I stayed in that hospital with antibiotics for weeks. I am sober now. But this never left me. It didn't feel like a hallucination or dream. It was real. Minute by minute for hours, I felt conscious. I fell into a near-death state and got a peek behind the curtain. The knowledge about reptilians controlling society's fear was new. I had never thought about it before. All I knew were memes about the Queen of England or David Icke. I had laughed at the idea, never read about it. I had no idea how they were depicted, how people claimed to see them throughout history. Reptilians, gods, beings feeding on souls written in many religions, including alternate Christian faiths like the Coptics. I had no idea about the belief in underground dwellings in the Southwest, portals, or gatekeeping. This happened to me. Also, later, I learned near-death experiences are often connected to alien abduction accounts. The only natural explanation I could think of, Saddam had art and spoke of snakes in his dreams. Family members often mentioned this. The Bible is founded on the story of an evil snake, the devil as the serpent. Perhaps humans instinctively associate snakes with fear evolutionarily, snakes represented danger. But this doesn't explain the realistic, lifelike experience I had. After this, I am sober. Not religious, but I see good and evil. I believe in a God. And I view many societal structures as predatory now. And when I hear things regarding these creatures, my ears perk up. I have become a believer. Well, that just happened. I live in a haunted house that I'm too broke to move out of. I was just sitting at my table drinking coffee from my French press when the whole thing flies off the table and hits the hutch across the room. Wife came in asking what the heck happened, so I told her. We both just look at each other and get the broom and mop to clean it up. It doesn't even faze us anymore at this point. Cabinet doors are constantly opening on their own, furniture moves while we sleep, glasses flying off shelves to the point that we had to switch to plastic cups. Once, I took my son's phone as punishment and it flew off the shelf where I had it and hit me in the arm. But hey, it's a 3-bedroom in the country and rent is very cheap. They also don't care that I have 3 pit bulls and a bulldog, so the ghost is just gonna have to learn to live with me. What actually happens if you whistle at night? I know in Hawaiian culture it summons the night marchers, and in different cultures it summons the devil. But what actually happens when you whistle past dusk and before dawn? It's 1:20 a.m. and I just heard a sharp knocking on my locked bedroom door. Experience. I was beginning to get bedded down for the night after locking the door and turning out the light, and about 5 minutes later I heard it. Several distinct raps on the outside of my locked bedroom door. Both my cats were asleep at the time, so they didn't make the sound, and besides, it was definitely made by a fist. Someone was knocking to come in. For context, I live in a house divided into apartments and single rooms. I live in the attic apartment. I hear any visitors from miles off climbing the creaky old stairs and wrestling with the front door. I heard none of that. There is no one outside my door. It's just impossible. But then, who's knocking to come in? Me and boyfriend seeing things. So, some creepy stuff has happened in our house before, i.e. hearing things, toys sliding across the floor. Well, about 10 minutes ago I was standing in the kitchen and out of the corner of my eye I saw what looked like a black cat run across the living room behind the coffee table. We do have a black cat, but he is an outdoor barn cat. I thought I was imagining things and brushed it off, not saying anything about it. As me and my BF were going outside to smoke, as he goes to open the door, we both hear and see the outdoor cat jump onto the porch. As this is happening, he turns to me and says, "I swear I just saw a black cat run behind the coffee table before I opened the door, but the cat just ran onto the porch." I immediately teared up and got chills because he described exactly what I had seen 5 minutes prior. I don't know, tell me what you think. I think I'm haunted. Since I can remember, I have always experienced some level of paranormal. From random light flickers, to seeing things just out of the corner of my eye, to hearing my son call me when he was little and wasn't even home. Today the Alexa in my son's room started talking. I was sitting in the living room in silence reading, so I got up to go see what was going on because I couldn't hear what was being said, and when I walked in his room, "If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands" was playing on his Alexa. My now teen son was at school. It's always something. I was visited by something last night. So yesterday I had an experience while I was on Forest Lollipops, if you catch my drift, that still has me thinking about what it could have been. So I decided to watch the new movie Dracula at home to be able to feel that movie on a whole other level, and while I was watching it I was very overwhelmed by the experience in general, but when it got to scenes where they were in the church with all the paintings of Jesus on the wall, I couldn't really focus on what was being said because all I could feel was the Holy Spirit bringing me back down to a baseline, and I felt very comforted, something that I've never experienced before because usually nothing can bring me back down once those things start going south. As I'm watching the movie, my dog immediately gets up and starts inspecting something behind a chair I have as well as behind it. He doesn't want to get too close and he wouldn't go in the bedroom when he looked in, just kept a good distance. He did this 3 times and every time it happened I could feel the shift in energy before he did. I didn't see anything though, but when I went to check it out I felt something hovering over or behind me. When I looked up to my right I could see a white light that took off pretty quickly and it startled me a lot. After this my roommate's cat decided to go over to the chair and look at it too in the same way, so they both saw whatever this thing was. She has never sat on that chair before but decided to jump up on it and stare at me for a good 10 minutes with this face of almost knowing what was going on. She slept on that chair all night and is still sleeping on it now, which is wild to me because she never touches the chair or stays in one place too long. The chair belonged to my nana, but I've had it for years now and have never felt anything like this. I couldn't even say I felt her either, all I felt was a sense of curiosity and calm, and almost a feeling of this thing knows what I'm going through right now, that it can pick up on my sadness as well as my heightened state. I have no idea what it could have been and neither of them are seeing it again tonight. I'm not feeling any presence either anymore. I'm not sure if maybe my Nana came to visit me or the Holy Spirit, because I'm not a very religious person, but in that moment last night I did let those feelings of God and peace flow through me. Nothing like that has ever happened to me, and it wasn't like I was searching for anything, because it was my pets who tipped me off that something is there lurking around the chair and in the bedroom. Does anyone have an idea of what that could have been? What was that happened? So this is about the time I was in final year of my college. This one night I was chilling on my bed watching movies and stuff. There was no one else in my room and the door was locked from the inside. Suddenly someone turned up the light switch, which was kind of on the opposite side to the direction I was facing. I was confused, but didn't give any thought to it and just thought it might be some electrical issue. I turned on the light and returned to my bed. Hardly 2 to 3 minutes later again the light switch was turned off, and it was legit someone manually turning off the switch. I was shocked yet again, get off my bed to turn it on, scared this time a bit. But as soon as I was about to reach the board, the light again turned on, and just a second later it was again turned off. I saw the light switch moving on its own. Nothing else happened. Still this day I doubt myself that what I saw was really true. What do you guys think? I've never seen or heard of anything like this. Please help. Encounter. I don't know what to make of this experience. It's so outside my frame of reference. I'm really hoping someone here can offer insight to help me process it. This week I, 39 years old, spent 3 nights in a cabin at a state park. My spouse, 37 years old, and kid, 5 years old, were with me. Everything seemed really chill. The cabin was nice and clean with heating. I didn't get a sense that anything was off until the second night. I was sleeping in the main bedroom with my kid. We strung up some battery-powered fairy lights as a nightlight. Despite a full day of hiking, I had trouble sleeping. I kept waking up for no apparent reason. Finally, I woke up and realized that the light's battery had died. In the middle of the woods with no light, the room was pitch black. Except that it was full of glowing white forms. The only way I can describe them is this: they were like oversized swaths of lace floating around the room. They looked two-dimensional and geometric with intricate lines and curves. They floated around the room like they were curious about everything in it. I wasn't scared exactly. I think I was too stunned. I thought at first that I was dreaming, but my kid sighed and shifted in her sleep. I knew that I was awake. My instinct told me that they didn't realize I was awake though. I didn't want to yell and draw attention. But when one hovered between me and my kid, I felt like I had to do something. I reached for the backup light on the chair next to the bed. As soon as I switched it on, they disappeared. The next morning, the backup light was on, so I know that I didn't dream it. But I really don't understand what these forms were. There were so many of them flying around. And I have never seen anything shaped like that. Has anyone ever heard of anything like that before? I can't find anything online. Allegedly, the next cabin over is haunted, but people don't describe anything like this. Me, 18 female, and my dad, 61 male, both saw the same thing. Not sure what it is or what to do. This is my first time posting on Reddit, and I am also on mobile. Heard it can cause some formatting issues. So sorry if there are any problems, but I was told to come here for advice. Some background to my family's beliefs. I am spiritual. My mother is Christian Orthodox, but a more spiritual denomination of it, and my father is absolutely atheist. The first encounter happened this time last year. I was home alone and sitting in my kitchen at the dining table. From where I was sitting in was able to see the front door into the living room, and the back door in the living room leading into the garden, just to give some context to the layout. I was eating my food and I looked up and saw a black shadowy figure standing inside the house by the back door. I was paralyzed with a sense of impending doom. Every time I looked away it seemed to reach towards me, so I was unable to move and unable to look away. One thing to note is that after about 5 minutes of me looking at it, my cat started yowling at the front door to be let in. One thing about him is that he rarely meows, and on the rare occasion he does it is extremely quiet. This is the first time I had heard him meow like that. After a few more minutes I became hysterical and started screaming and crying. The entire thing lasted about 40 minutes until my mum came home and got me out of my hysterical state. Another thing to note is that when the front door opened and my mum came in, I did not recognize it as her, nor as human, and I fell to the floor in fear. She cleansed the entire house and all of the doorways. I put this experience down to being a stress-induced hallucination, as I was going through a very stressful time then, or due to the new hormonal medication I had been put on, hallucinations being a rare side effect of. This was until the second encounter. I have been away from home the past 2 days, and when I got back today my dad told me that he has seen a ghost, and when he took a picture of it, it disappeared next time he looked. I was taken aback, as he does not believe in the paranormal at all and does not joke about things like this. I asked to see the picture, and in the picture I saw exactly what I had seen this time last year. I will attach the image that he took, where you will see to the left of it the back door where the original instance occurred. I am very worried, as my friend pointed out, that it has moved from the back door to the living room window, and due to the layout of my house the next entrance/viewpoint is my glass front door. I suppose I am looking for an explanation? Or advice? I am very frightened and am not sure what to do. This has me unsettled. Often hear noises that cannot be easily explained. My bedroom, I see shadows, mist, things won't be where I left them when I leave and come back, etc. I finally caught something more than just a noise on camera. This door leads to my garage, which was closed to the outside. The door was completely latched. After this I experimented with the door to try to recreate this, and I couldn't. If I unlatch it, it only opens maybe half an inch. If I push it, it only opens to how far I push it. My dog also was very sketched out for hours after this happened. Enjoy. I have unexplainable things happen all the time in my house. Especially in my kitchen and bedroom. From the kitchen I often hear noises that cannot be easily explained. My bedroom, I see shadows, mist, things won't be where I left them when I leave and come back, etc. I finally caught something more than just a noise on camera. This door leads to my garage, which was closed to the outside. The door was completely latched. After this I experimented with the door to try to recreate this, and I couldn't. If I unlatch it, it only opens maybe half an inch. If I push it, it only opens to how far I push it. My dog also was very sketched out for hours after this happened. Enjoy. Had an unforgettable, unexplainable experience years ago. When I was a teen, maybe 2017-ish, I was home alone and doing dishes in the kitchen with earbuds in. I was in a full jam sesh while scrubbing. Headbanging, dancing and everything. When suddenly, I felt that instinctual feeling when someone is staring at you. When you turn your head without even thinking about it. And there, just maybe 2 feet away, was the silhouette of a man. Like, made of this blue hazy light. No discernible details, but you could tell from the shape, it was a man. I paused, stunned, and trying to process what I was seeing. He seemed to notice me looking back in that split second, and with literal blink and you'll miss it speed, he blurred down the hallway in a streak of blue light. I stood there frozen for maybe 3 to 5 seconds before I decided to follow, simply to verify that no one was home. The entire house was empty. And I didn't see anything else that night. I tried to rationalize it, but my mind circled back to the moment I noticed eyes on me. How there had been no sound or movement to alert me, cause I could only hear music and was looking down into the sink. It was the feeling of eyes on me that made me look up. The human reaction of someone staring. Chills just thinking about it now. The kicker is, my grandfather had passed maybe a month prior to this and he didn't get to see us much. On a separate occasion, when I had moved out as an adult, I was leaving my bedroom for a midnight snack. And when I opened the door, there was someone nearly face to face with me. I froze in the doorway, but I was more open to it this time. Same blue light silhouette but different stature, different person. No visual detail. But he felt familiar. His height, point where our met, felt like standing in front of someone I used to know who'd long passed. I recognized him. Said his name like a question, blinked, and he was gone. A story told to me by a trusted friend. I'm in British Columbia, where you can drive an hour and a half out of Vancouver, walk an hour up an old dead-end logging road, and you're guaranteed to be in the middle of nowhere. I mean unbroken bush for dozens or hundreds of kilometers. I was reading about Sasquatch on a computer at work one time, and one of the guys asked me if I believe in it. I showed him some stuff, so he confided in me that he was in the middle of nowhere with his telescope club. They decided to leave, but he stayed on a bit. He said after a while he heard this crazy guy on acid way off in the bush. He shrugged it off, but then heard the screaming pretty close, so he threw his stuff in his car and bolted. The windows on his car were frosty, but he swears he saw someone run onto the dirt road behind him in his tail lights. It wasn't until years later, when he heard some screams on a TV show, that he thought it might be a Sasquatch. He'd never considered it until then. Anyway, this guy doesn't know how to use computers or anything. He's pretty old, and since I was familiar with the area, I pulled up Google Earth to get him to show me which direction he heard it. Unbroken BC bush in the middle of the night and over a very rocky mountain river. There's no way a human could have done that in the daytime, let alone nighttime. Edit. Forgot to say this was back in the 90s, before all the shows were on TV and everybody was out there squatching. If anyone is familiar with the area, I can tell you exactly where it happened. It's not a secret like on all these shows. I think there is something upstairs. I moved places a lot, and I experienced a lot of things in each houses I lived in. But the current one I'm in seems to be the worst. It's a house my grandma has been lived in for over 15 years, and I moved in with her a few years ago. It's on the second floor specifically. Everyone I've invited that went upstairs has told me the same thing. When you get halfway in the stairs, you feel a heavy, uncomfortable feeling. I've felt it too, and I've been getting more concrete signs. Firstly, noises. I don't mean sounds that could be literally anything, but precise ones. It happened a few times that I heard someone knock on my door very clearly, and when I opened it, no one. Not to mention I'm alone on this floor. Secondly, shadows. My heart jumped out of my chest once. I was watching TV, and I saw someone in the doorframe. I thought maybe it was my grandma, so I said hi, but I was met with silence. I got up to check the corridor, and no one. My grandma was laughing downstairs. Precision, the stairs are old and creaky, and my grandma has trouble with her knees. It's impossible for her to have gotten down the stairs while I got up from my bed. Thirdly, we adopted a dog recently. She absolutely refuses to go upstairs. She stops midway, and starts whining and barking at the end of the corridor. She never does that, and on the first floor. I've had my fair share of paranormal, but this is really something else. And this is only about the Shadow Man, because there is so much more I've seen besides him.
Are you a targeted individual? Have you had a paranormal encounter, or are the victim of an unregulated government experiment and would like to share your story with us? Would you like to send us some fan mail or a hate-filled rant? Do you have an idea for a future episode or wish to send a complaint to HR? Email us at atomicshamanSweatlodge@protonmail.com. Like, share, subscribe and be sure to check the notification bell. Follow the Atomic Shaman on Twitter at Motel and RV Park. Listen to Paranormal Greentext Stories on Atomic Shaman TTS on YouTube. Catch the live streams of Atomic Shaman Sweat Lodge only on Rumble.